Welcome to part 3 of our ceramic identity box series. In this video, we're going to cut a puzzle lid for our box. Before we get started, we're going to create a template. Now there's a few things you should know about design, about what works and doesn't work. Now first, a design that goes up and down in a really tight fashion will not work. The lid will not sit properly and it'll be hard to fit evenly going around, so this won't work. Now this wave design, although it looks really pleasing, will also not work. And this is because this is an undercut. So the part that kind of scoops underneath will get caught and won't let the top come off. So no undercuts. Now this design has kind of a loose, long curve, and that won't work because the top will just slide right off. It won't have enough area to grab onto. So here's a design sort of like a heartbeat rhythm, and this is actually a really good design and will work really well. Now this design, the little loop coming down, almost like little teeth, this will also work really well. So this is a good design. And even kind of square edges, as long as they're not too tight and there's no undercut, will also work well. So here's how to create a template. We're going to line up a piece of paper with the top and side of our box. Grab a scissor and cutting right alongside the box. Be careful not to damage or mark up your box, but trim the paper to fit. And then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with the bottom. Now that we got our paper trimmed, we're ready to design our template. You're going to want to measure down at least 1 inch on 2 sides of the piece of paper and connect a line going across. Now this is going to give us room on the top of our box. Now our design is going to go below this line. Now I'm going to use a little bit of sort of like a cloud bubble pattern with a couple of curved lines and an extra one right over here. Now take your scissors again and let's cut out this pattern. Be careful, take your time and cut it cleanly. Now that's our box lid template. Let's go ahead and slap that on our box and start trimming. Okay, so carefully line up your template with the top of your box, and with a sharp tool or pencil, go ahead and trace around the edge of your template. Make sure it stays in place as you do this so it doesn't slip. We're going to want to try to make sure that all of our sides going around are even and as close to the same as possible. So let's rotate our box and let's try to keep this area clean as we work. So go ahead and trace this on all the remaining sides, lining up the top of the template with the top of your box, and make sure that your lines meet on the edges as we go around. Okay, now we have our seam drawn going around all four sides of our box. And we're going to use the sharp end of a cleanup tool to lightly score as we go around. Don't try to cut through on the first try, otherwise you'll most likely damage your box. Take your time and do not use a sawing motion. Just lightly score as you go and go around a few times until you cut all the way through. Be careful and make sure that all of your edges meet as you go along. Otherwise, your box top might not lift off at the end. I know you're going to want to try to cut through and do this quickly, but you really want to make sure that you take your time and don't cut too deep so that you don't distort the box as you go. You're going to want this edge to be nice and clean and neat so that the box lid comes on and off really easily. Now I'm getting close to cutting all the way through. And as you do this, you might hear a little hiss or a little sound of air escaping as you go. Up until now, air inside the box has helped keep it in shape. Once you cut all the way through and there's no more air left inside, you have to be really careful not to distort the box, so be gentle with it as you work. Now that my lid is loose, I'm going to carefully remove it and clean up the seam that I just cut. I'm still using the cleanup tool, and here I'm gently removing all the burrs from the edge that I cut and using this tool to kind of just smooth out the surface of the clay. Now with our lid cut, our next step is to just go through and clean everything up.